Hi, my name is David Tong, and I will be presenting to you my theory of learning, which is constructivism. To kind of give you a brief outline of this presentation, I will first talk about the history. I will then talk about its advocates, then its fundamental beliefs, benefits towards the learner, how it's represented in the classroom, and then I will tie it together with my philosophy of education, which is progressivism, and then end with a personal testimony of why I believe in this theory of learning as well as philosophy. Okay, so to start it out, let's get into a brief history of how constructivism came to be. It was actually a reaction to didactic approaches which at the time were fixed and unwilling to change, such as behaviorism and program instruction with a fixed curriculum. These approaches focus more on the teacher who would pour out knowledge onto students who would passively be learning and retaining the information, which only became memorized for the sole purpose of the assessment. This theory started out through progressive educators by Jean Piaget and John Dewey. Piaget started the foundation of constructivism with the belief that humans learn by a construction of one logical structure after another through the process of accommodation and assimilation. John Dewey believed that education should be grounded in real-life experience and through sustained inquiry. Progressive educators prefer a more informal educational setting, and teaching is useful for subjects that can be applied to daily living. And they believe more so in doing rather than instructing. So some popular advocates for constructivism, like I said, were John Dewey as well as Jean Piaget. Another person who was foundational in this learning theory was Vygotsky, and he believed that language and learning are intertwined, and he also believed that social learning should precede development, and he believed heavily in social interaction amongst learning environments. He brought up and coined the terms of the more knowledgeable other, which was basically partnering with someone with a better understanding or higher ability level than the learner, such as a coach, a teacher, or even a peer. Another term that he coined was the zone of proximal development, which is a student's ability to perform a task under guidance and one's own ability to solve problems independently. Another person who is an advocate for this learning theory is Jerome Bruner, and he brought up discovery learning, which is where the learner draws on past experiences and existing knowledge to discover facts and relationships and new truths. Some modern educators who also advocate for constructivism are John D. Bransford, Eleanor Ducksworth, Roger Schenck, and Martin G. Brooks. Okay. So now that I've talked a little bit about the history, I want to get into the fundamental beliefs of constructivism. And like I said, it is less based on the teacher and more student-centered, and that shows in the curriculum as well as the teaching. It focuses on the mental processes and strategies of learning, and it basically provides the learner with the opportunity to interact with sensory data and the openness to construct their own world. Constructivists believe that learning is also an active process, and the learner is active in the learning. They believe in social activities as well as collaboration and connection with others. They believe that learning is contextual and linked to prior knowledge, so almost exactly what Jerome Bruner believed through discovery learning is a core belief of constructivism. And learning is reflective, inquiry-based, and evolving. So, with that being said, the benefits for learners or children who have a constructivist teacher, they're basically able to learn more and enjoy learning because they are actively involved in the process of discovery. Education works best when it is concentrated on thinking and understanding, and this is exactly what constructivism leans towards. Students, through this process, are able to take ownership over what they learn because they basically come to the conclusions on their own. It is nothing that the teacher tells them, but it is rather just what they come to in their exploration. Students are also able to develop the ability to express and share their thoughts, belief, and knowledge. Therefore, their social skills are increased because of these group settings that are promoted within this theory of learning. So how is this represented in the classroom? I'm going to first talk of the role of the student, which is also known as the active learner. So their role is pretty much the primary aspect and the thing that's kind of running the classroom because they are the ones who will ask the questions, they are the ones who will explore, they will assess their current knowledge, reflect on any conclusions or beliefs that they may come to, and they are also to be active participants within group discussions. The role of the teacher, on the other hand, is to understand where their students are at currently and any pre-existing conceptions that they may have. They are the main. The teacher is the main facilitator in the classroom, and they guide the activities, and they also build upon the students' current understanding through questions. They are to constantly encourage the students to assess their learning strategies and current knowledge and beliefs. So basically, like I said already, the teacher's main role is the facilitator who will ask those good questions that will promote deeper exploration into the topics that the students are to learn. So what are some activities that can be implemented in the classroom that align with the constructivist learning theory? One of the big ones is reflective activities that engage both the mind and the hands. And this is kind of contrary to those traditional learning theories such as behaviorism because those are mostly engaging the hand. The students in those traditional learning theories were never encouraged to think deeper than the answer that was already provided for them by the teacher. Another activity or way to implement this into the classroom is through guided discovery, problem-based learning, simulation-based learning, and one of the most important and integral is inquiry-based activities. Students will also be in a collaborative learning environment such as group discussions, group activities, group projects. And another big one for the student individually is maintaining a classroom journal where they record how they felt about certain project activities as well as where they write down their own input towards other student projects that may have been discussed. So, to move on, with all that being said, about core beliefs, how to implement the role of the teacher, the role of the student, the philosophy of education that most closely aligns with my constructivist learning theory is the philosophy of progressivism. And this philosophy focuses more on the individual than the actual subject matter that's being taught. It calls for the learners to be active and to be problem solvers by reflecting on any previous experiences that they may have been through. They believe that society is always changing and that new ideas are important to make the future better than the past. They center curriculum around experiences, interests, and abilities of the individual student, and they have a high value on cooperation and group collaboration. So you could really just see through this philosophy that there is a deep value placed on the individual student, rather than what the teacher even has to offer. And for me personally, that's the way I believe students learn best, is through their own exploration and discovery and personal revelation, through just the guidance and facilitation of the teacher. And this is why I believe in the learning theory of constructivism and the philosophy of progressivism. I hope this was insightful, and I thank you for listening. I thank you for this class.